Hey crafty friends, it's Rick. I'm back with another video. Today we're going to be making a reindeer head Christmas card from using products from Scrappy Boy Stamps. We're going to use the reindeer head die set. I've also used the stitch nested rectangle dies as well as the scalloped rectangle stitch dies. My sentiment I'm going to pull from Santa's Workshop stamp set, and I did use a little piece of the vintage Christmas pattern paper as well. So I've already cut out my parts and pieces. This is a pretty simple card. I cut my deer out from some brown cardstock, but I want to add a little bit more detail to it. And I'm going to grab a foam blending tool. And we're going to take some just light brown ink. And I'm going to add a little shading to my deer head. Pick one side. I'm going to add just a little bit more. The ink will dry back a little. I'm okay with the antlers being a little bit lighter. I also added ink blending to the lights as well. I cut them from white cardstock, and then I added color by using a sponge dauber and just cutting the little bitty pieces. So before we get started on that, we're going to take and add our little strings for our lights into our deer antlers. So I'm going to just take a little bit of liquid glue and just add to the back of my little light string. And I'm going to kind of intertwine the string of lights into our antlers, just like so. And we've got our second string right here. We'll do that same thing too. I thought this die set was absolutely adorable. And it has so many possibilities that you could do so many things for it. You could, if you have a hunter in your life, you could make masculine cards. I'm going to add that string. I'm going to wrap it around right there. And this one I'm just going to wrap right in there. Just kind of intertwine that a little bit. And then I'll just kind of hold it in place for a second. And we also have our deer stand. Or not deer stand, but the stand for the little head. So we'll add that in a minute. I think I'm going to pop that up. But before we do that, we've got our little nose. So I'm going to add a little dot of glue at the very tip of our deer head. I'm going to take my pickup tool. I did cut that from the same color cardstock as our stand. So there's our little deer head. Add a couple of foam squares behind there. And then I can arrange that onto our little head. Okay, I cut the string from that piece of green cardstock. I've cut the stitched. That was my scallop banner die. I cut the stitched square right there. So I'll go ahead and layer these together. And then I took my pattern paper and cut it out with that same size rectangle die and just trimmed off parts of it, the top and bottom, so that way the stitching lined up. So we're going to add that about right there. And let's make sure this is turned around the right way. That way I can line my stitching up. And then I can stamp my sentiment onto this. So before we add our little deer head, I will go ahead and stamp my sentiment. And I'm going to stamp a couple on here. I do have I'm going to stamp in Fallen Leaf VersaFine ink. And I'm going to do Mary. And then Christmas. All right, I've got my sentiment stamped on there. I've got a top folding A2 card base. We're going to go ahead and add this panel to our card base. So we'll just center that on our card base. Then I will add my little deer. I'm going to add just a little bit of glue behind his antlers and ears, even though they are popped up. And we're going to center him right in our piece of pattern paper. All right, so now we have our lights. So we're going to go ahead and add our lights. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little dot of liquid glue where I want my lights to be. And I just did them all the same. I just colored them all yellow. And they do layer up. There is a layering piece as well that's going to go on top of our lights. I start off with just the 3 right now on that side. So I want to balance it out on this side. I always like to do that when I'm creating a project, and I like to balance things out. I'll do so many on one side, come back to the other side and balance everything out. And we forgot a little light right there, so I'll have to color it. So I'm going to treat these as basically they're the embellishment for my project. All right, now we're going to add just a little dot of liquid glue on each of our light bulbs. I will add the top part of each of our little lights. I think this would be very pretty if you did different colored lights. I cut a strip of that same pattern paper that I used on the card, and I'm going to add this to the inside of my card as well. Then once that dries, I'll cut that off. I'm going to take a white paint pen and I'm going to add a few little highlights to our deer. So that he pops out of the page a little bit more. I'm also going to take a two-way glue pen and I'm going to add just a little two-way glue to each of my lights. And I'm going to use some rock candy glitter to add a little bit of that in there, so that we have a little bit of sparkle for our card. All right, my friends, here's a closer look at today's card. There's a look at the inside. I hope that you give this a try. All the products are linked and listed below. You can find closer looks at and more photos of the projects on my blog, if that's more into your speed. All those links are listed below. I'll see you in the next video. Bye, guys. Stay crafty. Love you.